The great chamber of Nexus Prime stretched out like a small planet. Ambassador Lee Tae-ho walked across the polished floor toward the center platform. His black diplomatic uniform carried the blue and white flag of Earth on his shoulder. Behind him walked Dr. Park So-young with her data tablets and Captain Kim Min-woo in his clean white uniform. The three humans moved with quiet dignity as thousands of alien eyes watched them. The Galactic Council chamber held representatives from 847 different species. Some breathed water and sat in glass tanks. Others floated in gas clouds that glowed soft colors. The reptilian Scythic delegates sat on heated stone chairs. The crystalline ethereals hung from the ceiling like living chandeliers. All of them had come to hear humanity speak. Lee Tae-ho reached the speaking platform and placed his hands on the metal podium. He looked up at the massive viewing screen that would show his face to every delegate in the chamber. For 50 years, humans had served the galaxy as provisional members. Today they asked for full membership in the Galactic Council. Honored delegates, Lee Tae-ho began, his voice calm and clear. I stand before you today to present humanity's application for full membership in this great council. For 5 decades, we have worked alongside you. We have learned from you. We have served with you. Today we ask to join you as equals. High Counselor Mexthan sat on his elevated throne at the front of the chamber. His forearms moved in complex patterns as he spoke. His translator device made his words sound cold and sharp. Ambassador Lee Tae-ho of Earth, your species has indeed been present in our space for 50 standard years. Tell us why you believe humans deserve full membership. Dr. Park So-young stepped forward and activated her data display. Bright holographic images filled the air above the platform. Honored Council, she said, humans have contributed greatly to galactic civilization. Our medical research has saved 4 billion lives across 17 worlds. Our engineering solutions have prevented the collapse of 6 star systems. Our diplomatic efforts have ended 3 major wars without a single shot being fired. The holographic display showed human hospitals on alien worlds. Human doctors worked alongside alien healers to cure diseases that had killed for centuries. Human engineers rebuilt broken space stations and fixed dying planets. Human negotiators sat at peace tables where enemies became friends. Council member Velthar of the Scythex spoke next. His voice hissed like steam through his translator. These are crude solutions from a primitive species. Any civilized race could have achieved the same results with proper methods. Councillor Zephira's crystalline form rang like bells as she spoke. The question is not what humans have done. The question is whether they can understand civilized society. They are too young, too emotional, too unpredictable. Dr. Park So-young tried to speak again. If I may present additional data about our medical innovations. Enough, High Counselor Mexthan said, cutting her off. We have heard sufficient evidence. The Council will now discuss this matter. What followed was not really a discussion. It was a series of speeches about why humans were not ready for full membership. The gas-based Nebulan delegate spoke about human aggression. The hive-minded collective questioned human individualism. The ancient watchers worried about human unpredictability. Representative Vorthak of the Merchant Guild spoke about human economic practices. They give away their innovations freely. They help species that cannot pay them back. This shows they do not understand proper economic principles. Military Commander Krixtal stood on his 6 legs and waved his clawed hands. Humans fight differently than civilized species. They take risks that no logical being would consider. They sacrifice themselves for strangers. This is not rational behavior. The debate continued for hours. Lee Tae-ho, Dr. Park So-young, and Captain Kim Min-woo stood quietly and listened. They did not interrupt. They did not argue. They simply watched as delegate after delegate explained why humanity was not worthy of full membership. Some delegates spoke in favor of humanity. Junior Counselor Nexara reminded the Chamber of Human Aid during the Rigel crisis. Trade Minister Yulthok mentioned human protection of merchant vessels. But these voices were few and quiet compared to the others. Humans are too violent, said one delegate. They solve problems with force. Humans are too peaceful, said another. They avoid necessary conflicts. Humans are too different, said a third. They do not fit with civilized society. Dr. Park So-young tried once more to present her data. Honored delegates, if you would examine the evidence. High Counselor Mexthan raised one of his 4 hands. Dr. Park So-young, we appreciate your efforts, but the evidence is not the issue here. The issue is whether humans possess the wisdom and maturity necessary for full council membership. Many of us believe they do not. Captain Kim Min-woo stepped forward. Counselor, our fleet has kept peace in the Vega sector for 8 years. Our ships protect trade routes across 40 systems. Our medical vessels respond to every emergency call we receive. How is this not wisdom and maturity? Because, said Counselor Zephyra, you do these things for emotional reasons, not logical ones. You risk your lives for species you barely know. You spend resources on people who cannot repay you. This is not the behavior of a mature civilization. The voting began at sunset on Nexus Prime. The chamber's lighting dimmed as delegates cast their votes through their individual terminals. Numbers appeared on the great display screen as each vote was recorded, against humanity's membership. 100 votes, then 200, then 500. The number kept climbing. For humanity's membership, 12 votes, then 18, then 23. The number barely moved. Lee Tae-ho watched the numbers without changing expression. Dr. Park So-young closed her data tablets quietly. Captain Kim Min-woo stood straight and still like a soldier on parade. The final count appeared on the screen. 847 votes against, 23 votes in favor, 12 abstentions. High Counselor Mexthan stood to announce the result. The Galactic Council has voted to reject humanity's application for full membership. Furthermore, this rejection comes with prejudice. Humanity may not reapply for membership for 500 standard years. The chamber fell silent. Even the constant humming of life support systems seemed to stop. 800 alien species waited to see how humanity would respond to this devastating rejection. Lee Tae-ho stood slowly. He gathered his papers and placed them in his diplomatic case. Dr. Park So-young closed her data displays and collected her research tablets. Captain Kim Min-woo straightened his uniform and picked up his helmet. We understand the Council's decision, Lee Tae-ho said quietly. His voice carried clearly through the vast chamber's sound system. Thank you for your time and consideration. He turned and walked toward the chamber's exit. Dr. Park So-young and Captain Kim Min-woo followed him. Their footsteps echoed in the complete silence. No alien delegate spoke. No one moved. Everyone simply watched as the 3 humans walked away. At the great doors, Lee Tae-ho paused for just a moment. He looked back at the assembled delegates one last time. Then he turned and walked through the doors. They closed behind the human delegation with a soft sound that seemed as final as the end of the world. The Galactic Council had spoken. Humanity was not worthy of membership. The humans had accepted this judgment without argument or protest. They had walked away in silence, with dignity intact. None of the alien delegates realized they had just made the greatest mistake in galactic history. News of the Council's rejection reached human space within hours. Captain Kim Min-woo received the message while his medical frigate Mercy's Dawn orbited Kepler 442b. His crew had just finished evacuating 3,000 alien survivors from a plague outbreak that had killed half the planet's population. The survivors were mostly children from 6 different species, all looking up at him with grateful eyes. Kim Min-woo read the encrypted message twice before he understood what it meant. Then he walked to the ship's communication center and sent a message to his medical teams on the planet below. All human personnel return to ship immediately. Prepare for departure. Dr. Jin Hae-won looked up from the alien child she was treating. The little Corvin had been dying from the plague just hours earlier. Now he was sitting up and asking for food. Captain, we still have 200 patients in critical condition. They need at least another week of treatment. New orders, Doctor, Kim Min-woo replied. We're leaving the system within 6 hours. The alien survivors gathered at the hospital windows to watch the human ships prepare for departure. They did not understand what was happening. Yesterday, the humans had been their saviors. Today, the humans were leaving without explanation. Elder Vex Mira of the Wanderer species tried to contact Kim Min-woo directly. Her people had been living in temporary shelters for 2 years, while humans prepared a new world for them. The terraforming was 90% complete. In just 6 more months, the Wanderers would have a home again. Captain Kim, please respond, she broadcast on all frequencies. Our people need to know when you will return to finish the world-building project. Kim Min-woo's response was brief and formal. The terraforming project has been terminated. Technical specifications have been transmitted to your science teams. Best wishes for your future endeavors. The Mercy's Dawn and 12 other human medical ships jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving behind confused and frightened alien patients who had been depending on human care. On Proxima Centauri III, engineer Choi Hyo-jin shut down the massive terraforming equipment that had been running continuously for 3 years. The planet was beautiful now, with blue oceans and green continents, where once there had been only toxic rock and poisonous atmosphere. In 6 months, it would be ready for the Wanderer refugees to colonize. Choi Hyo-jin uploaded all technical data to the planetary computer systems. She recorded detailed instructions for maintaining the atmospheric processors and water purification systems. She even left spare parts and repair manuals. But she did not explain why the humans were abandoning the project so close to completion. The Wanderer engineering teams begged her to stay. "We do not understand your technology well enough," Chief Engineer Bextall pleaded. "Without human guidance, we cannot maintain these systems. Our people will die if the atmosphere fails." "The technical manuals are complete," Choi Hyo-jin replied. "Your engineers are capable of learning these systems." She did not mention that it would take the Wanderers at least 10 years to fully understand technology that humans had mastered in decades. Her engineering team packed their equipment in silence. They had grown to love this world they were creating. Many had planned to stay and help the Wanderers build their new civilization. Now they loaded everything onto transport ships and prepared to leave forever. In the Vega sector, Admiral Yoon Jae-sung received similar orders. The human defense fleet had been keeping peace between 3 warring species for 8 years. The Scythek, the Ethereals, and the Collective had been fighting over mining rights and territorial boundaries. Human ships patrolled the border zones and prevented major conflicts. Yoon Jae-sung called his fleet commanders to an emergency meeting. "We are withdrawing from the Vega sector immediately," he announced. "All peacekeeping operations will cease within 48 hours. Captain Lee So-jin of the destroyer Fast Current could not believe what she was hearing. "Admiral, if we leave now, these species will start killing each other within days. We've prevented 6 major battles in the last year alone. Our orders are clear, Captain," Yoon Jae-sung replied. "We are no longer responsible for maintaining peace in Council space." The human fleet began its withdrawal that same day. They had been invited to mediate the conflicts by all 3 species. Now they left without informing any of the warring parties. The Scythek, Ethereal, and Collective commanders only learned about the human departure when their sensors detected the fleet moving toward the edge of the sector. Battle Commander Karseth of the Scythek tried to contact Admiral Yoon directly. "Admiral, we have scheduled peace talks for next week. Your mediation team was supposed to facilitate the negotiations." "The human defense fleet is no longer available for peacekeeping duties," came the automated response. "Please contact the Galactic Council for alternative mediation services." Within hours of the human departure, skirmishes broke out along all 3 borders. Without human ships to separate them, the warring species fell back into old patterns of violence and mistrust. On Earth, President Moon Soo-bin called an emergency session of the Human Assembly. Representatives from every human world gathered in the Great Hall in Geneva. The news of the Council's rejection had spread throughout human space, and people wanted answers. "Citizens of humanity," President Moon began. "Today, we learned that the Galactic Council has rejected our application for full membership. They have declared that we are not worthy to join their civilization as equals. They have banned us from reapplying for 500 years. The assembly hall was completely silent. 5 decades of human service to the galaxy had been dismissed as worthless. Billions of human lives dedicated to helping alien species had been declared inadequate. "We offered our hand in friendship," President Moon continued, "and were told we were unworthy. We offered our service and were told we were primitive. We offered our cooperation and were told we were dangerous. We will not beg for acceptance from those who do not value what we bring to the galaxy." The president paused and looked out at the assembled representatives. Effective immediately, all human operations in Council space will be terminated. Our medical missions, our peacekeeping forces, our diplomatic staff, our trade agreements, our research partnerships, all of it ends today. Humanity will forge its own path among the stars. The vote was unanimous. Every human world agreed to the complete withdrawal from Council affairs. The most painful departures came from the orphan worlds, colonies of species whose home planets had been destroyed in wars or natural disasters. Humans had become their protectors and teachers over the decades. Human schools educated alien children. Human hospitals treated alien patients. Human farmers taught alien refugees how to grow food on new worlds. Dr. Jin Haiwan found herself saying goodbye to students she had taught for years. The young Corvin named Kexmill had been in her biology classes since he was 6 years old. Now 12, he looked up at her with confused eyes. "Teacher Jin, why are you leaving?" he asked. "Did we do something wrong?" Jin Haiwan knelt down to his level and took his small hands in hers. "No, little one. You did nothing wrong. You are perfect just as you are. But the grown-ups in the galaxy have decided that humans cannot stay here anymore." "Will you come back?" asked Yilara, a young ethereal whose crystalline body chimed softly with sadness. "I don't know," Jin Haiwan admitted, tears in her eyes. "I truly don't know. The human teachers uploaded all their lesson plans and educational materials to the school computers. They left behind libraries of human knowledge and culture, but they could not leave behind the personal connections they had formed with thousands of alien children who had grown up thinking of humans as family. Transport ships arrived at every human facility in Council space. Hospitals, schools, research, stations, terraforming sites, peacekeeping bases, all were systematically evacuated. Humans packed their belongings and their equipment with quiet efficiency. They left behind detailed instructions for everything they had been doing. Medical protocols, engineering specifications, diplomatic procedures, agricultural techniques, all of it was carefully documented and transferred to alien authorities. But the humans themselves were leaving, and they were not coming back. Within 2 weeks, human space was empty of any official presence in Council territory. 50 years of human civilization in the galaxy was being packed into cargo ships and transported back to human worlds. The aliens watched in growing confusion and concern. They had expected humans to argue about the Council's decision. They had expected protests and demands for reconsideration. They had not expected this quiet, efficient, and complete withdrawal. Some alien leaders tried to convince humans to stay. They offered special trade deals and private partnerships. They promised that the Council's decision did not affect individual relationships between humans and other species. But the humans were polite and firm in their refusals. "We understand the Council's position," was the standard response. "We respect their decision and are acting accordingly." As the last human ships crossed into human space, a strange silence settled over the galaxy. For 50 years, humans had been everywhere, helping, healing, building, protecting, teaching. Now they were gone, and the universe seemed somehow smaller and colder without them. The first crisis began exactly 6 months after the humans withdrew. Battle Commander Karseth of the Scythek received reports that ethereal mining ships had crossed into disputed territory in the Vega sector. Without human peacekeepers to patrol the borders, both sides had grown bold about testing old boundaries. Karseth activated his communication array and sent a message toward human space. "Human Defense Fleet, this is Battle Commander Karseth requesting immediate mediation in Sector Vega 7. Ethereal forces have violated the border agreement." The response came back within hours, but it was not what he expected. An automated message played in the mechanical voice of a computer system. "This is an automated response. Humanity has withdrawn from all peacekeeping operations in Council space. Please contact the Galactic Council for assistance with your dispute." Karseth stared at the message display in disbelief. For 8 years, any border incident had been resolved within days by human mediators. Admiral Yoon Jae-sung himself had negotiated the current border agreements. The humans understood both Scythek honor and ethereal logic. They found solutions that satisfied everyone, but the humans were gone. 3 days later, ethereal crystal ships attacked a Sithek mining station. The Sithek responded by destroying an ethereal research facility. Within a week, both fleets were mobilizing for full-scale war. Counselor Zephyra tried to organize Council peacekeepers to replace the human forces. But Council military units had not conducted actual peacekeeping operations in 50 years. They had grown used to letting humans handle such problems. Their commanders did not understand the complex tribal politics of the Sithek or the mathematical thinking patterns of the ethereals. The Council peacekeeping fleet arrived in the Vega sector just in time to watch the largest space battle in a decade. Sithek war cruisers fought ethereal crystal ships across 3 star systems. The Council forces could only retreat and send reports back to Nexus Prime. The war spread quickly. The Collective, seeing both their neighbors fighting, decided to claim disputed mining rights in systems that had been neutral for years. Soon, 3 major species were engaged in a conflict that made trade impossible and turned entire sectors into combat zones. On the Plague worlds, the medical crisis grew worse each day. The Crimson Plague had started on 7 different planets at the same time. It was a flesh-eating virus that could infect any carbon-based life form. Within weeks, it was spreading to dozens of worlds. Chief Medical Officer Thel Onyx of the Council Health Authority tried every treatment in their medical database. Traditional healing methods slowed the plague, but could not stop it. Advanced Council technology could identify the virus, but could not cure it. Thel Onyx remembered Dr. Park So-Young's presentation to the Council. Her biosynthesis research had created treatments for viruses that Council medicine considered incurable. Her techniques used human understanding of genetic mutation combined with advanced nanotechnology. But Thel Onyx could not bring himself to ask humans for help directly. The Council had declared human medicine primitive and unsuitable for civilized species. To request human assistance now would be an admission that the Council had been wrong. Instead, he sent what he called routine medical information exchanges to human space. He uploaded data about the plague and requested any relevant research that humans might wish to share. He made it sound like a normal scientific collaboration rather than a desperate plea for help. The human medical authorities responded with polite acknowledgement that they had received the data. They thanked the Council for sharing the information. They promised to review it when time permitted, but no cure came back. The plague continued to spread. Billions of beings across dozens of worlds fell sick. Council hospitals filled beyond capacity. Medical staff worked until they collapsed, but the disease spread faster than they could treat it. On the edge of the asteroid field near Centauri, Station, Freighter. Captain Nam Soo-jin watched through her ship's sensors as alien cargo vessels struggled with a massive debris field. A rogue asteroid had broken apart near the major trade hub, creating millions of pieces of flying rock that made navigation almost impossible. Nam Soo-jin's ship was equipped with gravity manipulators that could move asteroids like toys. Her crew had helped clear similar debris fields dozens of times over the years. The work usually took a few hours and prevented billions of credits in shipping delays. She could see alien ships trying to navigate the dangerous field. Some were small freighters like hers, carrying food and medicine to colonies that needed supplies. Others were passenger vessels with families aboard. The alien crews were doing their best, but their ships were not designed for this kind of work. As she watched, a Wanderer cargo ship struck a piece of debris and began losing atmosphere. The crew was sending distress signals, but no rescue ships could reach them through the dangerous field. Nam Soo-jin could save them easily, but her orders were clear. Observe only, do not interfere. She turned her ship away as the Wanderer vessel's distress signals faded to silence. The Centauri Station trade hub, which had been one of the busiest commercial centers in the galaxy, began to decline rapidly. Ships could not get through the asteroid field safely. Trade routes that had operated smoothly for decades became too dangerous to use. The economic impact spread throughout Council space as goods stopped flowing between star systems. Elder Vex Mira of the Wanderer species sent increasingly desperate messages to engineer Choi Hyo-jin. The atmospheric processors on Proxima Centauri III were failing. The Wanderer engineers had tried to follow the technical manuals, but they did not understand the complex systems well enough to repair them properly. Engineer Choi, this is Elder Vex Mira. Our atmospheric readings show dangerous levels of toxic gases building up in the northern continent. The processor array in Sector 7 has shut down completely. We have tried everything in your manuals, but we cannot restart the system. Please respond. The message was sent toward human space, but no reply came back. 3 weeks later, Vex Mira sent another message. Engineer Choi, the water purification system in the Southern Ocean is producing contaminated water. Our people are getting sick. 50 families have already died from poisoning. The children are asking when the human teachers will come back to help us. Please, we need your guidance. Again, no response from human space. The messages continued for months, growing more desperate each time. The Wanderer colony was slowly dying as the terraformed world systems failed one by one. The beautiful planet that had been 90% complete was becoming uninhabitable again. By the end of the first year after human withdrawal, tens of thousands of Wanderers had died. The survivors lived in emergency shelters, watching their new world become toxic around them. They had nowhere else to go. No other species had offered to help them find a home. The pirate attacks began when word spread that human peacekeepers were no longer patrolling the trade routes. For decades, human patrol ships had made piracy almost impossible in civilized space. Pirates knew that attacking merchant vessels would bring swift response from human forces. But now the patrol routes were empty. Captain Vorstel led a fleet of pirates that attacked merchant ships in the outer colonies. His first target was a medical supply convoy heading to plague-affected worlds. The convoy had no military escort because everyone assumed the routes were still protected. Vorstel's ships captured the medical supplies and sold them on the black market for enormous profits. The colonies waiting for those supplies watched their sick die while pirates grew rich from their suffering. The council tried to organize their own patrol fleets, but their ships were designed for different purposes. Council military vessels were built for large-scale warfare between major powers, not for chasing small, fast pirate ships through asteroid fields and nebula clouds. The pirates adapted quickly to council tactics. They used hit-and-run strategies that took advantage of every weakness in council security. Trade ships began traveling in large, heavily defended convoys, but this made shipping slow and expensive. Within months, piracy had increased by 3,000%. Insurance costs for merchant vessels became so high that many trade routes became economically impossible. The galactic economy, which had depended on safe shipping lanes, began to collapse. High Counselor Mexthan called emergency sessions almost every week. Each meeting brought reports of new crises that the Council seemed unable to handle. Wars that they could not stop, plagues they could not cure, economic problems they could not solve. Where are our own specialists? He demanded during one particularly frustrating session. Why do we not have experts who can handle these problems? Junior Counselor Nexara, who had voted in favor of human membership, spoke quietly. Because for 50 years, we let humans handle all our problems. We became dependent on their expertise while convincing ourselves that we were superior to them. The chamber fell silent as the implications of this statement sank in. The council had spent decades thinking of humans as useful servants rather than valuable partners. They had taken human expertise for granted while maintaining their belief in their own superiority. Now the humans were gone, and the council was discovering that they had forgotten how to solve the problems that humans had been handling quietly and efficiently for half a century. 2 years after the rejection, High Counselor Mexthan sat in his private chambers staring at reports that painted a picture of galactic collapse. Half the member species were at war with each other. The plague had spread to over 100 worlds. Economic trade had fallen to levels not seen since before the formation of the Council itself. His 4 arms moved restlessly as he reviewed the latest casualty reports. The war in the Vega sector had claimed 30 million lives. The Crimson Plague had killed 2 billion beings across 57 planets. Pirate attacks had destroyed over 10,000 merchant vessels and disrupted food supplies to countless colonies. Every report ended with the same quiet observation. These problems would have been solved quickly if human experts had still been available to help. Mexthan called for an emergency session of the full council. When the delegates assembled in the Great Chamber, the mood was darker than anyone could remember. The proud civilizations that had rejected humanity as unworthy now sat in the shadow of their own failures. Counselor Zafira's crystalline form had lost much of its usual bright glow. Her people, the Ethereals, had lost half their mining fleet in the ongoing war. The situation in the Vega sector has become unsustainable, she reported. Our forces are exhausted. Our resources are depleted. We cannot continue this conflict much longer. Battle Commander Karseth of the Sithak stood on his platform, his reptilian features showing unusual signs of stress. My people grow restless. With this endless war, we have achieved no victory, claimed no new territory, gained no honor. Our young warriors ask why we fight when there is no glory to be won. Admiral Korthwell of the Council Defense Forces presented military reports that shocked even the most experienced delegates. Our peacekeeping capabilities have proven inadequate. Without human cultural specialists and diplomatic expertise, we cannot understand the conflicts well enough to resolve them. Our forces can separate warring parties temporarily, but we cannot create lasting peace. Trade Minister Yul Thok's economic reports were equally devastating. Commercial activity across the galaxy has collapsed. The trade routes that humans protected are now too dangerous for regular shipping. Insurance costs have made many forms of commerce impossible. Several member worlds are facing food shortages because supply convoys cannot reach them safely. Chief Medical Officer Thel Onyx stood slowly to address the chamber. His voice was heavy with exhaustion and defeat. The Crimson Plague continues to spread despite our best efforts. Our medical technology can slow the disease but cannot cure it. We have lost more lives to this plague than to the last 3 major wars combined. He paused and looked around the chamber before continuing. I must inform the Council that human biosynthesis techniques could have stopped this plague within days of its first appearance. Dr. Park, So Young's research provided solutions that our medical science has been unable to replicate. An uncomfortable silence fell over the chamber. Every delegate remembered Dr. Park So Young trying to present her medical innovations during the membership hearing. They remembered cutting her off and dismissing her work as primitive. Junior Counselor Nexara, one of the few who had voted for human membership, rose to speak. Her voice carried the weight of prophecy fulfilled. Honored delegates, we are facing the consequences of our own prejudice. We called humans emotional, but we acted from pure pride and fear. We called them violent, but they brought only peace to our conflicts. We called them primitive, but they solved problems our advanced civilizations could not handle. She gestured toward the empty section where human delegates once sat. We rejected them not because they were unworthy, but because their competence threatened our belief in our own superiority. We could not accept that these young, emotional humans might be better at some things than we were. Council member Velthar of the Sithak hissed his displeasure. They were supposed to help us regardless of politics. Any civilized species would have continued to assist during these crises. Their abandonment of suffering beings proves they were unworthy of membership. Were they? Nexara replied sharply. Or did we teach them that their help was neither wanted nor valued? We told them they were primitive. We told them they were dangerous. We told them they were unfit for civilized society. They listened to us and acted accordingly. The debate that followed was unlike any in Council history. For the first time, delegates were forced to examine their own failures rather than celebrating their superiority over younger species. The discussion was painful, angry, and honest in ways that the Council had not experienced in centuries. Representative Vorthak of the Merchant Guild admitted what many had suspected. Our economic systems had become dependent on human-protected trade routes. We convinced ourselves that we were superior traders, but in reality, we relied on human security forces to make our commerce possible. Military Commander Krixtal made an even more damaging admission. Our military forces had not conducted independent peacekeeping operations in 50 years. We had transferred that responsibility to humans while maintaining the fiction that we were the superior warriors. The pattern was the same across every area of galactic civilization. The Council had allowed humans to handle the difficult, dangerous, and unglamorous work while taking credit for the peaceful, prosperous results. As the debate continued, a desperate plan began to emerge. The Council would send a formal delegation to Earth to request human assistance. Surely humans would not allow entire civilizations to collapse over political disagreements. Humans were known for their compassion and their willingness to help others. They are too soft-hearted to watch billions die, argued Trade Minister Yul Thok. Human nature compels them to help those in need. They will return if we ask them properly. High Counselor Mexthon was not entirely convinced, but he could see no other options. Very well. We will send a delegation to Earth. Ambassador Volteth will lead the mission. We will request human assistance with our current crises. The selection of Volteth was carefully considered. He was known for his diplomatic skills and his respectful treatment of younger species. If anyone could convince humans to help, it would be him. But some delegates questioned whether asking for help was wise. What if they refuse? Asked Counselor Zafira. What if they demand concessions or changes to our policies? What choice do we have? Replied Admiral Corthwell. Our civilizations are collapsing. Our people are dying. Our economies are failing. Pride is a luxury we can no longer afford. The delegation was carefully chosen to represent the major power blocks within the Council. Ambassador Volteth would lead, supported by Medical Officer Thel Onyx, Military Advisor Krixtal, and Economic Specialist Yulthok. They would travel to Earth in the Council's most prestigious diplomatic vessel. As the delegation prepared for departure, the scope of their mission became clear to everyone involved. They were not going to Earth as equals negotiating with equals. They were going as supplicants, asking for help from the species they had rejected as unworthy. Before leaving, Ambassador Volteth met privately with High Counselor Mexthan to discuss the parameters of their mission. What are we authorized to offer in exchange for human assistance? Volteth asked. Mexthan considered the question carefully. Whatever is necessary. Trade agreements, territorial concessions, research partnerships, even council membership if they still want it. The galaxy is dying without them. The admission was painful but necessary. The council that had declared humans unworthy of membership now needed human help to survive. Volteth's ship departed Nexus Prime on a course for Earth. The journey would take 2 weeks at maximum speed. During that time, the crises in Council space continued to worsen. More planets fell to the plague. More battles erupted in the ongoing wars. More merchant ships fell victim to pirates who operated with impunity. Every day of delay cost thousands of lives and billions of credits in economic damage. The Council watched their civilization crumble while they waited to learn whether humans would forgive their rejection and return to help. The irony was not lost on the more thoughtful delegates. They had spent 50 years treating humans as junior, partners who should be grateful for the opportunity to serve. Now they were traveling to Earth as beggars, hoping that humans would be merciful enough to save them from their own incompetence. As Volteth's ship crossed into human space, automated beacons challenged their identity and purpose. The responses were polite but formal. Human traffic control directed them to Earth but offered no special welcome or priority treatment. The Council delegation began to suspect that their reception on Earth might not be what they expected. They had assumed that humans would be waiting for an apology, eager to return to their role in galactic civilization. But the cold efficiency of human space traffic suggested something different. Perhaps humans had not spent the last 2 years hoping for Council forgiveness. Perhaps they had been doing something else entirely. As Earth grew larger in their view screen, Ambassador Volteth realized that the Council might be about to learn just how badly they had misunderstood humanity's true nature and capabilities. Ambassador Volteth's ship entered Earth orbit to find a sight that surprised him. The planet was surrounded by hundreds of vessels from species he did not recognize. Ship designs that were clearly non-human, but also clearly not from any Council member world. Strange, beautiful vessels that moved with technologies he had never seen before. Earth's orbital stations had tripled in size since his last visit 5 years earlier. New construction showed architectural styles that blended human engineering with alien aesthetics he could not identify. This was not the Earth he remembered from previous diplomatic missions. Human traffic control directed the Council ship to a standard diplomatic docking bay. No honor guard waited for them. No special ceremonies marked their arrival. They were processed like any other visiting delegation, with efficient but distant courtesy. President Moon Subin received them in the same office where human ambassadors had once planned their service to the galactic community. She greeted the Council delegation with polite warmth, offering them comfortable seats and refreshments suited to their various biologies. "Ambassador Volteth," she said with a slight smile, "welcome to Earth. How can we help you today?" Volteth had prepared a careful speech about the crises facing the galaxy and the Council's need for human expertise. But something in President Moon's tone made him hesitate. She spoke like someone greeting distant acquaintances, not former partners in galactic civilization. "Madam President," he began carefully, "the Galactic Council faces unprecedented challenges: wars, plagues, economic collapse, pirate attacks, problems that human expertise could solve quickly and effectively. We come to request humanity's assistance in these matters." President Moon nodded thoughtfully. "That does sound very difficult. I'm sure the Council will find appropriate solutions." The response was so unexpected that Volteth wasn't sure he had heard correctly. "Madam President, perhaps I was not clear. We are requesting direct human intervention. Medical assistance for the plague, peacekeeping forces for the wars, patrol ships for the pirate attacks." "I understand what you're asking," President Moon replied calmly. "But humanity is no longer involved in Council affairs. We are sure the Council has the wisdom and resources to handle these challenges without outside assistance." Medical Officer Thel Onyx leaned forward urgently. "Madam President, billions of beings are dying from the Crimson Plague. Dr. Park So-young's biosynthesis research could save them. Surely human compassion compels you to share this knowledge." President Moon touched a control panel, and Dr. Park So-young's image appeared on the wall screen. She was standing in a laboratory filled with equipment that looked far more advanced than anything the Council had seen before. "Dr. Park has been quite busy," President Moon said. "Her research has led to cures for 17 different diseases that were affecting our new friends. She's saved millions of lives in the past 2 years." "New friends?" Volteth asked. The wall screen changed to show star charts of regions beyond Council space. Human settlements and alien colonies were marked in partnership across vast areas that the Council had never explored. "Humanity has made contact with 43 species in the Far Spiral region," President Moon explained. "Unlike the Council species, they were eager to work with us as equals. Our medical knowledge, engineering capabilities, and diplomatic experience have been very welcome there." Admiral Corthwell studied the star charts with growing amazement. "These territories are enormous. How did you make contact with so many species so quickly?" "When you're not spending time serving others who don't appreciate you," President Moon replied, "you discover you have quite a lot of energy for new projects." Military advisor Crixtall asked the question that had been growing in Volteth's mind. "Are these species aware of humanity's rejection by the Galactic Council?" President Moon's smile became slightly sharper. "Oh yes, they know all about it. Many of them had their own unpleasant experiences with Council expansion policies. They were quite interested to meet the species that the Council considered unworthy." The delegation began to realize that something fundamental had changed. They had expected to find humans waiting hopefully for Council forgiveness. Instead, they had found humans who had moved on to bigger and better things. Volteth tried a different approach. "Surely past disagreements should not prevent cooperation during humanitarian crises. Human ethics must compel you to help suffering beings regardless of politics." "Human ethics do compel us to help suffering beings," President Moon agreed. "That's exactly what we've been doing. Dr. Jin Haiwan now runs educational programs for refugee species in the Andromeda approach. Captain Kim Minwoo leads medical missions to worlds that were abandoned by their original colonizers. Engineer Choi Hyojin has completed terraforming projects for 6 species that needed new homes." She gestured toward the window, where alien ships could be seen docking at Earth's stations. "We help those who want our help and value our contributions. We work with species who treat us as partners rather than servants." Trade Minister Yulthok spoke desperately. "The galactic economy is collapsing without human-protected trade routes. Surely you can see the benefits of restored commercial cooperation." President Moon touched another control, and economic data filled the screen. "Our trade with our new partners has grown by 400% in 2 years. The Far Spiral region has resources and technologies that the Council space never offered. Our economy has never been stronger." The data showed trade in materials and technologies that were completely unknown to Council science, energy sources that were cleaner and more efficient than anything in Council space, agricultural techniques that could feed billions more people, manufacturing processes that created materials stronger than anything the Council had developed. "Where did you get these technologies?" asked economic specialist Yulthok. "From our partners," President Moon replied simply. When species work together as equals, they share their best knowledge freely. When one species treats others as inferiors, they only get what those others choose to give them. The implications hit Volteth like a physical blow. The Council had never seen humanity's best work because they had never treated humans as equals worthy of humanity's best efforts. Volteth made one final attempt. President Moon, I acknowledge that the Council made errors in judgment regarding humanity. Perhaps we can discuss terms for renewed cooperation. What would humanity require to resume its role in galactic civilization? President Moon was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the diverse fleet of ships in Earth orbit. When she spoke, her voice was gentle, but absolutely firm. Ambassador Volteth, I think you misunderstand the situation. Humanity has not been waiting for the Council to change its mind about us. We have been building something new. She stood and walked to the great window that looked out over the bustling orbital stations. For 50 years, we served the Council faithfully, hoping to be accepted as equals. The Council taught us that we were not welcome as partners. We listened, we learned, we left. But surely, Volteth began, we found 43 species who wanted human partnership, President Moon continued. Species who had been ignored or rejected by the Council. Species who valued cooperation over domination. Species who shared knowledge freely instead of hoarding it. She turned back to face the delegation. Why would we abandon partners who respect us to return to serving those who dismissed us? The truth was becoming clear, and it was more devastating than Volteth had imagined. Humanity had not been weakened by the Council's rejection. They had been freed by it. The species dying in Council space, Medical Officer Thelonix began, are not our responsibility, President Moon finished. The Council declared that human assistance was primitive and unwanted. We respected that decision. The Council must have advanced solutions that don't require primitive human help. Volteth realized that they had come to Earth expecting to negotiate with a desperate species eager to return to their former status. Instead, they had found a civilization that had outgrown the need for Council approval. What about the friendship between our peoples? Volteth asked. Surely that means something. President Moon's expression softened slightly. Friendship requires mutual respect, Ambassador. The Council never offered that to humanity. Our new partners do. As if summoned by her words, the office door opened, and several beings entered. Volteth recognized none of their species. They moved with the confidence of equals, not the deference of junior partners. These are some of our allies from the Commonwealth, President Moon explained. Admiral Yoon Jae-sung now commands combined fleets that include ships from 12 different species. Captain Kim Min-woo leads medical missions that have saved 37 worlds. Engineer Choi Hyo-jin has terraformed more planets in 2 years than she did in 20 years of Council service. The alien representatives greeted the Council delegation with polite curiosity, but no particular deference. They were clearly partners with humanity, not subjects or clients. One of them, a being whose crystalline structure resembled an ethereal, but whose coloring was completely different, spoke directly to Volteth. We've heard much about the Galactic Council from our human friends. Your reputation precedes you. The way he said it made clear that the reputation was not positive.